Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar, The New Employee Safety Approach to Meet Today's Mobile, Remote, and Traveling Employees. My name is Megan Carter. I'll be your moderator for today's session. We're going to give everyone a few more minutes to get connected, and we'll get started as scheduled. As a reminder, today's webinar is scheduled for about 45 to 60 minutes. Presentation portion will be about 45 minutes, followed by a Q&A session. I'll be right back in a couple minutes and we'll get started. All right, everyone, it's about 2 o'clock now. We'll get started in a couple more minutes. We can see a lot of people are still joining, so we'll be back in at 2:02 or so. All right, everyone, let's get started. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Megan Carter, and on behalf of Everbridge, I'm excited to present this webinar, The New Employee Safety Approach to Meet Today's Mobile, Remote, and Traveling Employees. In this webinar, our presenter will highlight the rise of the global threat environment, describe new employee safety techniques and capabilities available to increase employee safety, and finally, we'll go through some timeline examples and show how these new techniques actually apply in action. After the presentation, we'll have about a 15-minute Q&A session with our speaker. For your reference, we've included our Safety Connection data sheet in the meeting handouts. You can find it in the little panel in the GoToWebinar interface that says handouts. As a reminder, you can submit your questions at any time during the webinar. You can send your questions by typing in the open text field in the questions panel and sending your questions to all panelists. If time runs out before your question is asked, we'll try to follow up with you promptly after the webinar. Links to the recording of the webinar and as well as the slides from today's presentation will be available within a few days of today's session, and they'll be sent out to you via email as soon as possible. Also, at the end of the webinar, you'll be prompted to fill out a feedback survey. These feedback surveys help us fine-tune our webinars. They're very valuable resources for future webinar topics, and we really appreciate it if you guys could fill it out. And lastly, if you don't already, please feel free to follow us on Twitter at Everbridge. And now I'd like to introduce our presenter. Annie Israri is a Director of Product Management at Everbridge. She's responsible for the vision and strategy of Safety Connection, Everbridge Open, and our API connections, as well as other products from Everbridge. Annie also works with technology partners to help build integrated market offerings that solve complex problems for customers and provide automated workflows. Her experience includes working on SaaS and PaaS products in the communications, financial, and subscription billing spaces. Annie is a graduate of Babson College with a master's in business administration. We are very excited to have Annie with us here today. And now I'd like to turn it over to Annie. 1 minute, and I'll give you presentation rights. Should be coming over soon.
Thank you, Megan. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very excited to be here and discussing a few items about crisis management and how Everbridge thinks about this problem in today's world. So to start, I want to give you a little background about Everbridge. Everbridge is a software company that focuses on two things and two things only: keeping people safe and businesses running. All of our products have been built with these two things in mind. So we have products that focus on life safety of employees. We have products that focus on more operational use cases, such as IT alerting, when there is a critical event in your IT infrastructure and you want to reduce the time to respond. We have products that focus on secure communication between doctors and patients, executives, nurses and doctors, etc. And we have products that are focused on community engagement and being able to communicate messages to transient populations. Those are our products at a high level, and I would like to give you a quick view of our customers as well. As you can see, we have 24 out of the 25 busiest airports in North America, 8 out of the top 10 largest cities in the US, and lots of consulting and financial corporations, oil and gas, higher ed, investment banks, and healthcare providers. Gardner has ranked Everbridge in the top right quadrant twice, and Everbridge is a leader in this space. We are the only publicly traded company in our space today. Now, what we are finding is that a lot of our clients are trying to solve what seems like a simple problem. They want to keep their employees safe, and they want to be able to provide assistance to employees who may require assistance. So traditionally, companies have used a mass notification system for that, and we now see that in a world of growing threats. For example, we have Hurricane Sandy, we have San Bernardino shootings, we have the Nice terrorist attacks, Orlando shootings. We live in a world of increasing threats, and these threats are happening in different locations. So the problem becomes more complex for our clients and companies like our clients, because they have lots of employees in different locations, and they could be affected by these man-made and natural disasters. We all know that these things are only increasing, so the problem is just becoming a bigger issue to deal with. We also know that by 2020, 72% of all employees are going to be mobile. So not only we have a world of growing threats, but we also have more mobile employees. That is a dangerous combination. We need to keep our employees safe, our constituents safe, and how do we go about doing that? We are hearing from our own customers who have distributed teams, they have large campuses, they have employees who travel all the time, and they're telling us these are the things that they're most concerned with. They have natural disasters, tornadoes, active shooter, fire in a building, and terrorist attacks on their minds. These are the things that they really need to make sure that they can keep their employees safe in case any of these happen. These are all examples of location-based emergencies. So what have they been doing traditionally? Traditionally, companies have been using a EMNS system, an emergency mass notification system. An emergency mass notification system relies on data being imported from an HR system, and that HR system usually has the employee's work location. So it says Annie or Megan are based out of the Burlington office. Now, these employees may not always be in the Burlington office. So this static location is used to notify Annie or Megan in case of location-based emergencies in Burlington, and in case of weather alerts and similar types of threats. But what happens if Annie and Megan are not in the Burlington office? What happens if they're traveling to another location? What happens if they're visiting customers or working remotely? A traditional emergency notification system would not automatically be able to solve this problem. This is what we are trying to address with our next generation emergency response. So what we have done is we have taken a deeper look at the concept of location. We know that employees have a static location. The static location is usually their usual office location or their home location, but employees also have a last known location. That's their exact current location. They may also have an expected location. Expected location is where they are going to be, where are they going to travel, perhaps a travel itinerary. So by keeping these three location types in mind, we're going to have a better idea of where people are and whether they're going to be affected by a location-based threat. Now, having these location types in place enables us to ensure safety of employees within a building, employees who are outside of their normal work location, lone workers who are working in the field, and executives who travel or employees who travel. As we go through this presentation, I want to walk through a couple of timelines with you that describe how we do this for lone workers, travelers, and employees in a campus. Before we go through the timelines, though, I want to show you or give you a high-level view of the Everbridge platform. The Everbridge platform has a lot of shared services. Services like our location engine, our notification engine, our rules engine, and then we have some products sitting on top that leverage these shared services. We have product lines called Safety Connection, Mass Notification, IT Alerting, etc. These products are focused on life safety. Some of them are focused on operational use cases like IT Alerting. Some of them are focused on community engagement and communicating to transient populations, etc. Now, all these products have been built with the Everbridge model in mind. What is the Everbridge model? The Everbridge model is about assessing an event, determining whether it's important or not, then locating the people who need to be aware of it or people who may be impacted by it, and then having your responses in an automated fashion so you don't have to spend a lot of time crafting those responses. And then finally communicating those standard operating procedures and responses to your people. That's the Everbridge model in mind, and it applies to all of our products. So assess, locate, automate, communicate. And we'll be talking a little bit more about that as we go through this presentation. At a high level, you want to be able to understand the events that may impact you. So you want to have some sort of visualization interface that shows you all the events. You also would like to be able to see all of your people who may be impacted or who may be able to respond to these events. So you want to be able to locate them in relation to these events. Then you want to have all of your standard operating procedures, your escalation paths, your teams and groups in place. And then finally, you want to be able to communicate through multiple modalities in a two-way communication mechanism with a reliable global reach to all of those people. So that's, again, the Everbridge model. And we will discuss the Everbridge model in more detail as we go through. Now, earlier I did talk about the concept of location and how we have divided the location concept into three types: static, last known, and expected. It's important to know where these location types are coming from. We get them from multiple sources, and this is what is different from Everbridge in comparison to other providers. Everbridge wants to get the locations from multiple sources to provide a better accuracy, because one source alone is usually not enough. Let's go through these sources. Source number one is the mobile app. Everbridge offers a mobile app that sends the geolocation data back to the Everbridge platform. That's one source. However, mobile app may not cover all of your constituents. It may not cover all of your contacts. You have a better chance of locating your people if you use multiple sources of location. A second source for last known location would be the badge access system. If an employee badges into the building at 9 a.m., we can update their last known location in the Everbridge platform to show that they are in a particular building. So that can be used as a second source to get an accurate idea of where people are. A third source would be the network access system. If an employee logs into the corporate network with their corporate credentials, we now know that they're in a particular building on floor number 3 of, say, the Burlington office, and you're able to update their last known location to reflect that their location. So those three are sources for last known location. We also have sources for expected location. Expected location comes into the Everbridge platform usually through travel itineraries. We also have customers who use room and desk reservation systems to send expected location data into the Everbridge platform. This way, you get a better idea of where people are going to be, say, next week. At this time, I would like to walk through a quick timeline with you guys to show you how this information, the location information that we have in our system, is going to help you with traveling employees and lone workers. Okay, so let's take a look at a scenario here for a traveling employee. Let's say an executive is going to travel to Turkey. So the first step is an executive assistant will book this executive's travel to Turkey. And a lot of times, the executive assistant does the booking. The next step is a security operations person in a GSOC, in an EOC, or in a command center. They see that there is a coup alert in Turkey. There's a military coup in progress. A lot of streets are unsafe. There is civil unrest going on, and they want to ensure the safety of their executive who's traveling to Turkey. So they see the event come in on the map. The next step is, how do I communicate this out, right? Who is affected? We know that the COO is the executive who is traveling, is mid-flight, and we need to make sure that we are communicating to the people who are going to be affected by this military coup. So the security operation person will be able to look at the map and see what employees may be impacted by this threat. We know that this traveling employee, this executive, had an expected location in Turkey. The expected location has been fed into the Everbridge platform through the itinerary. Because this employee has an itinerary, we know their expected location. So on the map, we can see that they're going to be in Turkey. Me, as the security operations person, I'll be able to send a notification to my COO and ask if they need any assistance. Let them know that there is a coup happening. Do you need any assistance? And they can respond back by picking their response. In this scenario, the COO responds they need assistance, and their location is already going to be updated on the map. Their response is going to be updated on the map. So in the Security Operations Center, I will be able to see their response and their pin on the map. This allows me to follow up further and send further notifications to them, letting them know what they need to do. So now that I know that this COO needs help, I can contact the on-call travel team to book maybe a flight that is leaving Turkey sooner, or maybe provide this COO with a different hotel, maybe in a safer location where the streets are not affected and there isn't any danger. So I'll be able to take some action by contacting the travel team in the company. Now, once I've done that, I can also communicate back to the COO and via SMS or push notification or voice call and see if they need any further assistance. So I can send them another notification and they can respond to me saying they don't need any further assistance. All of this needs to happen through a reliable system that can communicate globally with the appropriate short codes and long codes, and make sure that SMS is actually delivered in a country where there is a military coup in place and communication systems may be affected. Remember, when crises happen, a lot of times communication systems are affected. This is why multimodality is critical. This is why having a partner who has local partnerships with providers and has a lot of short codes and long codes is critical. Now, Now, once I know that my COO is safe, they don't need any further assistance, I can send a follow-up to executives, update them on the event, saying that there was a military coup in place. We did have an employee who may have been affected, and we were able to respond to that situation in an appropriate, timely manner. So that's the timeline for a traveling employee. That's how having all of their location information in place and having a multimodal communication in place would assist with ensuring the safety of a traveling employee. The next thing I would like to show you is how we can help lone workers in the field. A lot of our customers, especially in the energy and gas and oil energy sector, transportation, pharmaceutical industries, they have tons of employees who are out in the field and they're lone workers. Also in healthcare, nurses who visit patients in their home, engineers who work alone in the lab. So these are all people who are considered as lone workers, and we need to be able to ensure their safety. So now let's take a look at a scenario with a pipeline leak. As an operation manager, operations manager in a GSOC, in a command center, in an EOC, I get an alert that there is a pipeline leak that's affecting my company. There's a pipeline leak and my company needs to address it, right? So I need to be able to communicate to my crew and send a call-out notification. Which one of my crew members can quickly confirm that they can take a look at this leak and perhaps resolve the situation? So I send my crew call-out notification to my team, and I get the appropriate confirmation. I am able to locate the nearest on-call resource because I can see the location of my crew on the map. And I can see their responses on the map as well. So by 5/18, I have received confirmation that a pipeline inspector has responded to my notification, and they have confirmed that they are going towards the location. So I have that confirmation in the platform. I can see the confirmation. Now at 5:56, the pipeline inspector arrives at the location and starts safe corridor. Why do they start safe corridor? Because I want to make sure on the other end that they're safe as they work, on this issue. They're alone in the field in a very dangerous area where there is a pipeline leak. So they start safe corridor, and at regular intervals, they have to enter their safety code. As they enter their safety code, we place their location on the map, and we can see that they're progressing safely. They're going about their job, and everything's moving along just fine. So they start safe corridor, they enter their PIN at regular intervals, and those intervals can be 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever the organization and the employee has defined. As I mentioned, they'd be entering their code at regular intervals. As that interval reaches, in this case, it's 15 minutes. Every 15 minutes, the person puts in their code, and the operations manager on the other end knows that they're safe. They can see a pin on the map for this person's location. Now, let's say that the pipeline inspector failed to enter the code. Either something bad happened to this pipeline inspector, or they just simply forgot. They left their phone in the truck, or they're busy working and they missed that interval. The good thing is that if they fail to enter the code for whatever reason, the application initiates an SOS call to the emergency response center, to the EOC, to the command center. And the operations manager is going to be able to see that SOS has been generated. Every time SOS has been generated, the front camera of the phone gets activated as well, and video gets captured. So if this inspector has been hurt and the phone is near them, we can see the video. If they have left the phone in the truck by accident, again, we can see that, in the video as well. So we have a visual of what is going on near this inspector. Once the SOS comes into the command center, the operations manager can see the video, as I stated, in the map, click on the video link and view what's going on. And here, it's both visual and they can also hear any sounds. The operations manager receives the SOS notification, and it can go through any modality. The SOS notification can be a voice notification, SMS, email. So if the operations manager is not sitting in a room watching the screen, they would still receive this panic call, this SOS call, if you will. Oops, my bad. Once the operations manager has received the SOS call, they can quickly call the inspector to assess their status, make sure that they're safe, find out what's going on. Did the inspector just forget their phone in the truck, or did something really bad happen and they actually need help? So this is a great indicator to quickly communicate back to that inspector and understand what's going on with them. Additionally, they already have the location of this inspector on the map, so if they need to quickly send out another crew or ambulance, they know exactly where this person is, and they can send out the help that is required. So that is a simple timeline for the lone worker. As you can see, it only takes about an hour and 15 minutes from the beginning to the end to really locate this person and find out they're safe. And some of that time, the person has been safe. They've been working on the project, they've been entering their code, and when they fail to enter their code, then we reach out to them and we ensure that they're going to be okay. Now, we talked about the traveling employees, we talked about the lone workers. What about people in my building? What about my employees who are actually working on campus? They came into the office. There are a lot of things that can go wrong within my actual building, right? I could have an active shooter. I can have a fire alarm when I need to evacuate everybody. There are a number of things that I need to watch out for. Let's take an example where there's an active shooter on my campus. I have 3 buildings in my campus. I have an active shooter in one of the buildings, and I need to communicate the appropriate messages to people in my campus. Now, I know that I have people stationed in building A, people stationed in building B and C, but I have people who are going from building A to building C because they have a meeting there, right? Or people from building B into building A because they have meetings there in a conference room. If there is an active shooter in building A, I may need to communicate a message to my people in building C and ask them to immediately evacuate the building and go to the muster station. But people in building A need to receive a different message that tells them to avoid the north exit because that's where the active shooter is. I need to tell people in building A they need to either seek shelter, hide, lock themselves inside a conference room, and I need to know exactly who is in building A because I don't want to just target the people who are stationed in building A. I want to also capture anyone who is visiting building A from other buildings. So I need to have an accurate idea of who is in building A versus who is in building C. This is where the last known location becomes very important. I need to be able to have an accurate list and then use that list for mustering purposes if I need to. Now, when an active shooter happens, I don't have a lot of time going between different systems, looking into my access control systems, looking into my communication systems, and figuring all of that out. I need a single pane of glass where I can take a quick look at my building and see how many people have a static location and how many people have a last known location. I don't want to be jumping back and forth between HR and my access control systems because there isn't a lot of time to do that. As you know, in an active shooter scenario, seconds matter. So this helps me ensure the safety of my people in my campus. To summarize, our safety connection solution, which is really the next generation critical communication platform, helps ensure the safety of local and remote employees. Local employees, those are the people stationed in my campuses. My remote employees can be my travelers, can be my lone workers, and can be people who just simply work remotely. It also helps me expand the duty of care from within the 4 walls to beyond the 4 walls. It helps me automate my evacuation processes and get an accurate list of who has evacuated the building versus who is still in the building. And it helps me have a good track record, an audit trail of what has happened. So after crisis ends, I can go back and do after action analysis and see how I can optimize my processes for any future events. basically that's all I wanted to share today. I want to open it up for some questions.
Awesome. Yes, all right. Thank you so much. That was great. At this point, we are going to move on to our question and answer portion of the session. We have a few questions that were submitted prior to the webinar, but we'll also take questions from the audience. As a reminder, you may submit your questions by typing a question into the open text field in the questions panel, and that's on your screen, and just submitting it to all panelists. And we will answer as many questions as time allows us to. And a question that actually was submitted prior to the webinar is around privacy. So it's great that you will be able to locate any traveling employees, but there are privacy concerns. Can you just address that, or just speak a little bit more to the privacy concerns?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So in regards to privacy, we talked about the different sources for location. We said that last known location can come from the mobile app, it can come from the badge access and the network access systems. With the mobile app, the mobile app has an opt-in capability, meaning that the end user, the contact, needs to enable location services on the mobile app. They need to say, yes, I will allow my location to be sent back to my organization for the purposes of safety alerts. So they will enable that so they can receive safety-related alerts. If they choose to not send their location data back to Everbridge, they can disable that in the mobile app. In regards to badge and network access, those are data sets that companies, organizations already have, and all they're doing is they're using it for safety purposes now. So if Annie badges in to 25 Corporate Drive every morning, that data already belongs to my organization. And now what they're doing with it is they're just using it for safety. If there's a fire in this building, they will know that I'm here and they can evacuate me.
Awesome. Okay. Our next question is kind of along the lines of the functionality of actually sending a message. And this particular attendee says, take the active shooter scenario, for example. Say that I'd like to repeat the same message with updates over a period of time. Will they actually need to re-enter the same original message as well as adding in new data, or when they send a message, can they just copy and paste into a new message?
It's even simpler than that. That is a great question. So the original message you send out, and then once the message has sent out, you see it in your dashboard. There's a button that says send a follow-up. You click the follow-up button, and it enables you to add additional text, if you wish, to that original message without having to enter the original data. The original data is already there. You can send additional text if you wish, or add more people. If you need to add more recipients, you can do that in a follow-up. So you don't have to repeat yourself. You can just click a button and send a follow-up.
Awesome. Okay, this is another scenario. Someone's asking whether or not social workers they're not necessarily scanning into a corporate building, but they're visiting local public residents. That if you could apply the same lone worker scenario to that.
That is a great lone worker scenario. We have two clients who are doing something very similar, except it's with nurses who are visiting patients in their home. The way it works is you start your safe corridor, or as an organization, you ask these contacts who are at risk, because they're going into private homes, they're going into areas that may not be safe, you ask them to check in with the organization at regular intervals. So you can tell them check in every 30 minutes, or you can actually set up the intervals for them, and then they have to enter their PIN every 30 minutes or every 60 minutes. If they check in, great, they're safe. You see their location on the map and everything's good. If they fail to check in, the panic notification gets generated, and audio and video from the mobile app gets generated and gets sent to the organization. At that point, you can follow up with the person, or call them, make sure they're safe, start one of your standard operating procedures in the event that they don't check in.
Great. Here's another question that came through. Can you speak a little bit more about the connected devices and where they fit into the whole safety connection traveling employee loan worker process? Specifically, we have a reference to the Internet of Things, so connected devices.
Exactly. Internet of Things is very interesting here. So, Everbridge as a communication platform has been used by our clients who have created very interesting integrations with wearable devices. We have scenarios where heart monitors have been integrated with Everbridge, where if a heart monitor shows a certain heartbeat or something that's not usual, it can trigger a notification. We have wearable devices that if say a panic button on the wearable device has been pressed, it can trigger a notification, again for safety. Similar to some of the stuff you see on TV. For example, if I'm wearing a bracelet and I'm working in a dangerous area and something happens, I just press a button on that bracelet to trigger a notification to my security team so someone can come and help me. Those are some examples of Internet of Things use cases. We also have use cases for sensors within buildings, sensors that detect certain temperature in the data center. So the temperature goes up, I'm worried about losing thousands of dollars worth of CPU, etc. That triggers a notification. I have sensors that detect smoke and fire. Those are sensors that can trigger an Everbridge notification to the appropriate people, or even evacuate the building based on what the sensor has detected. So if the sensor detects a little bit of smoke, maybe I need to have someone come and take a look at the situation and resolve it. But if the sensor has detected the situation is beyond repair, or it finds something that's very critical, it may pass some variables to the Everbridge platform that says evacuate the entire building. So we have logic in the system that can choose one or the other, notify just the appropriate parties or evacuate the entire building. Those are some examples of Internet of Things with Everbridge.
Okay, this is kind of, again, along the lines of privacy. Have we implemented the solution in a unionized environment, like government sector probably? And if so, how do you get the union on board to deal with the pushbacks regarding the Big Brother concerns, privacy concerns?
Yeah. As you're aware, the oil and gas companies, energy companies, many of them do have a unionized environment. Now, as we talked about the mobile app is completely opt-in. So the Big Brother is not tracking people who have the mobile app. The contacts who download the mobile app have full control over whether they want to send their location data back to their organization or not. If they send their location information back to the organization, their exact location will appear on the map when they're working in a hazardous area, if they're dealing with hazardous spills, if they're dealing with pipeline leaks, etc. If they're working in a pharmaceutical lab where there is danger. So they have control over whether they want to send their location data back or not. In any case, the mobile app will receive notifications, and it will be able to at least notify them of various types of events, but the location stuff is completely up to the end user.
Excellent. I think we have one more question. So this attendee is asking about federal regulatory requirements and whether or not Safety Connection was purpose-built to account for remote or traveling employees in terms of like a federal space in federal government.
Absolutely. So Everbridge has tons of badges, and we are working on. We have worked on many of these qualifications. We always share that with our clients. Safety Connection, in particular, was purpose-built for traveling and lone workers and campus safety. The core premise of the product was life safety for employees, whether corporate, federal, higher ed. It was designed with privacy in mind.
Perfect. Okay, I have one more comment, actually asking for successful uses of IoT devices with Everbridge. So Devin, I can absolutely, either Annie or I will follow up with you on that.
Absolutely. We have a lot of great use cases for IoT. It'll be very interesting to hear Devin's use case, but we do have a lot of integrations with a lot of cool devices, wearables, heart monitors. We have a dam example that I always like talking about. There are quite a few of them, so you can definitely follow up.
Oh, great. Okay. Oh, actually, sorry, we just got one more question in. The question is, when you have location services activated and you want to communicate to someone via the text message, the request will go through a phone provider, correct? Is that safe to assume? If there's no cell service, will the message fail?
Great question. If you send a notification through voice or SMS, it would have to go through a provider, a telecom provider. Now, telecom providers occasionally have failures. Think about Boston Marathon situation, where there were failures and cell towers were overwhelmed. What do you do in a scenario like that? This is why you need multimodality. So you don't use SMS as your only modality to communicate. You would use push notifications to send the notification to the mobile app. You use voice calls, email, use multiple phone numbers for calls, both landlines and mobile if you have them. There are other modalities that are less common, like pagers, fax, etc. Everbridge supports up to 100 different modalities. Most people don't know about, let's say, 90-something of them, but Everbridge does support them. But that's the key about communication in crisis, because during crisis we have seen time and time again where telecom providers have failed. This is why you need multiple modalities, and the mobile app push notification, push to social media is critical. Everbridge can do that all with one click, right? So if you are using a communication platform, you can write one message and have it be sent out through multiple modalities.
Great. Okay, and we just got another question in about the good old panic button app. Mm-hmm. Could you speak a little bit more about the 3-in-1 panic button app?
Absolutely. You've been hearing me talk about the mobile app. That's very generic. I should use the name of our mobile app. Mobile app is called Contact Bridge. The Contact Bridge app has safety features. There are 3 safety features in particular on the Contact Bridge app. Number 1 is the panic button. So let's say I'm an employee, I'm walking from my office to my car, I get attacked or mugged, I quickly press the panic button, I notify my security team that something bad has happened. I don't have to type anything, I don't have to write anything, I just press the red button and boom, that panic notification gets sent to my security team. The front camera of the phone gets activated and video and audio gets sent back to my security team so they can see what's going on around me, if I'm getting abducted, if I'm getting mugged. They get to see that, and that video will be available to them to share with legal and police if they need to. That's feature number one, the panic button. Feature number two is that safe corridor feature that is very useful for lone workers. They're able to start a safe corridor and get from point A to point B while somebody monitors their progress on the other end. Or someone can reach out to them if they don't reach point B, right? Because they are requested to put in their safety code at regular intervals. If they fail to put in their code at regular intervals, it results in a panic and someone can follow up with them. That's safe corridor, which is feature number two. Feature number three is a regular check-in. As an organization, I can have my contacts to check in when they reach their destination. For example, if Megan is going to visit our London office next week, we can say, Megan, please check in when you land so we know you are safe. That's the third feature, which is the regular check-in. So the 3-in-1 panic button app, those are the three features in the panic button, in the Contact Bridge app. We shouldn't call it the panic button app because it has more than that. It's the Contact Bridge app, and the Contact Bridge app is also the mobile app that receives push notifications. Push notifications is one of the most reliable sources of communication. If telecom providers, for whatever reason, have problems, for example, Boston Marathon, Hurricane Sandy, push notifications can still get delivered because if you have Wi-Fi, you can still receive push notifications. It is one of the most reliable sources of communication, and it has one of the highest response rates. Our data shows that it has one of the highest response rates.
All right, great. Okay, I don't see any more questions, so I'd like to thank everyone. Annie, great presentation. I'd like to thank all of our attendees who were able to join today. If you guys missed any part of the webinar, please look for an email with the link to the recording in the next couple days. Just a reminder, please fill out the feedback survey as you exit the webinar. To our existing customers, please feel free to reach out to your account managers for any other details and to ask additional questions. And anyone interested in requesting a demo, please visit our website, www.everbridge.com/company/contact. And thank you again for your participation in today's webinar. We hope to see you online again. Have a great day.